Hello and welcome to episode 94 of I'm Fine, a chat around the subjects of health, wealth and well-being with myself, Damo, and a fine specimen of a man who's on top of his training game at the moment, Mark.
And I've got some earth-breaking news around
There you have.
a new exercise. Yes, I have.
There you haven't.
Yes, I have.
It's just news.
No, it's groundbreaking.
Right.
It goes against everything I was taught as a PT.
All right. Do we tease this? Would you like to?
No, I'll just say. There's a guy on Joe Rogan today called Ben Patrick. We'll get the link. It's like literally I've only just heard.
You mean I will?
Yeah. Colin.
Yeah.
And he's basically explaining. Take a step back. One of the things you'll know, one of the key things that PTs go is, when you're doing the split squats, make sure your knees don't go over your toes and concentrate on your back leg and make sure blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I've never heard that. That's what actual proper PTs say.
Ones that are qualified.
Yeah.
And so I often say, like, if you concentrate on your back knee, it almost works your front knee.
I mean, my form must be just on point.
Yeah, there's never been a need to correct you.
Quite.
But it is tempting that on your front leg, the knee comes further forward. And also sometimes in squats, it's something that a lot of we are trained to say.
And also, does the raising the back leg or the front leg in said squat do anything at all? Is that just
squat? Yeah, massively. And they just started.
So is that like, if you have it higher at the back, it's like extending more? Is that extending even before you've extended? So it extends your leg a bit
more? It hits your posterior chain, so your calf, your hamstring and your glutes. So the higher up your back leg is on a split squat, it hits higher up.
Okay.
So it isn't like a squat where you're hitting.
So like when you do chest and chest presses at different angles, it works.
Yes. Yeah. You can have the bench
up the muscles.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an amazing thing when you told me that.
And some people do flat, and then every sort of 2 or 3 weeks we'll just raise the bench a little bit just to change what you're hitting. But he was mentioning split squats and saying they're groundbreaking stuff. And this guy, well, we'll talk about it maybe next week. Maybe if you have a listen. And one of the things he was saying.
Yeah, you can't stop there.
So one of the things he was saying is around sled work. So this guy has had his knee, he broke his kneecap, and so he's got a partial sort of false kneecap. And evidently he can do massive standing jumps, even with this bit of a knee. And what he does is before every workout, 4 days a week, he pulls sleds.
Right.
Which is, even if it's an upper body workout, he will pull sleds. But he was explaining he doesn't just push them, he can pull them backwards, if you like. So you're walking backwards, pulling a sled.
Oh, rather than facing away from it, you're facing to the sled.
So it's a pull exercise rather than a push exercise.
Okay.
And the background from that has come that in the forests in Finland, where a lot of their strongmen come from, that's how they pull the trees traditionally.
Right.
So sort of working backwards and pulling the weight.
Okay.
And obviously they're always big on world's strongest man.
Guess so.
On a bank holiday.
Because they don't have machinery to do that kind of stuff.
They Not in Finland yet, no.
Right, I haven't heard of tractors
no.
and cranes.
No.
Right, okay.
So anyway, he was just coming up with some stuff, and the interesting thing for me was...
So sorry, what was the ground... We haven't not got to that bit yet. Sorry, I don't mean to be impatient.
No,
we've got all the time in the world.
The groundbreaking thing, as he was explaining, was that how difficult it was for him to come to a theory that because it went against... the considered view or the consensus. It was like, I've just done all this research and this works, and these people have done this all their life and that works. But it's like, no, this is what it says in the book.
Right.
Even to the point when he was doing the exam, he said he was having to answer in what the examiners would think was the right result rather than what he knew.
Okay.
And he's put something up on Instagram, Ben Patrick's his name, giving a sort of step-by-step guide to just how important this is. And you're listening and going, he's either... a maverick who's just come up with something, he's trying to sell a book, or he's like, come up with something absolutely great. But Joe Rogan was like really sort of taken in by everything he was. I don't mean that in a bad way. He was like, really involved in the conversation and sort of going, it all makes sense what you're saying. And interesting, this week I've just started doing sled work and double-footed jumps.
Yeah, because you do see a lot of that on the old gram, don't you, people? Because I guess it looks quite cool, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it looks cooler than a lot of the other stationary stuff.
Yeah, and I was doing a lot, if you remember, probably in the beginning of the lockdown, doing a lot of those double-footed jumps onto logs and things. Can you remember that? And that was because of my sprinting. I wanted to have that acceleration and that torque.
Yeah.
So no, it's just I think it's that thing about it's almost if you can get in on the ground floor with something new rather than waiting for everybody else to catch up and then go, yeah, it was a good idea 5 years ago and we agree. So it's like the Eat Well plate, which is something the government promote around healthy eating.
Oh yeah.
And it basically says, and this is still common.
So it's like the diagram, isn't it,
yeah,
of how much, I guess, veg and meat and all that kind of.
And it says you should base this. It actually says around the plate you should base each meal on one of the following: rice, pasta, or potatoes. And it's like, no, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And you think that's still there, and there are still people. And when it says you should include a good source of protein, and then it goes beans, legumes, peas, or red meat, and I'm thinking, really, red meat is the top, and then chicken, and then tuna, and then beans and legumes. But because of the whole sort of vegetarian vegan, it's like your first stop for protein should be beans that are like 8% protein. Or you could have a nice ribeye that's 24%. But it's interesting, isn't it, that the first things that are mentioned are vegetarian, but they're not the best sources of protein.
Quite.
So why are they listed first? Why not have the percentages?
Are you suggesting there's something afoot, Mark, there? Are you suggesting there's an ulterior motive?
Well,
it would be the first time, would it? You've suggested such things.
I started a conversation with a client today, and I don't think I've been very controversial with it. She knows I'm an idiot, and she just...
Your mouth is going to say something else then, for the benefit of the listeners.
I said
began with P, but I think you were going to say a P word, weren't you?
I was going to say I was a prick.
Yeah.
And I said something, and she looked at me, and it was that look of, I don't agree with the comment you just made.
But she was too polite to argue with you.
No, but the look was enough. So I thought to myself, she doesn't agree.
Yeah,
so
and I know you well enough to go, that's red rag to a bull. That is, like, bring this one.
She needs to be educated. She didn't come here to train.
Yeah, and she couldn't have been with you long because she'd know not to disagree.
She's been with me 4 years, but she has left on a few occasions.
Right, she keeps coming back.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it your magnetism?
Yeah, and charisma.
Right.
I'd like to talk about this, actually. Let me have a sip of coffee.
Wait, what coffee is that, Mark?
Dusty Ape, I'm sure it is.
It is, yes, absolutely.
Remember when they used to have Mellow Birds coffee? Imagining the marketing team, we'd like to advertise this coffee. Let's call it Mellow.
Mellow, but I think I do.
No, it's coffee, mate. No, call it Mellow.
It's not Mellow Yellow. No, that was something else, wasn't it? They call it Mellow Yellow. What was that?
A song.
No, what was Mellow Yellow? It was a product, wasn't it?
No. It's a song by someone in the 60s or early 70s.
They call it Mellow Yellow. Yeah, I'm sure, I swear it's a product.
Yellow Jello.
Oh, that's one for next week. Yeah, sorry.
So I would like to talk about this. I hadn't even thought that I wanted to talk about this, but I will if you'll allow me.
But the floor is yours.
So
we're still in the intro, but this is all good.
I'm going to run in a 60-metre race on Sunday.
Right.
And I ran on one a few weeks ago, and I don't think I even...
I think you might have mentioned it at training, saying I wasn't really going to tell anyone. It sounds like I was probably the first of, many that day. And now you've gone, I'm just going to use our audience to tell everybody.
I didn't tell many at all. And so, right, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to do... Here's something that I think is really useful. So, I'm running in a race. And the race is all about the time. It isn't about the position, because I found out it's likely that...
Is this a qualifier? Is this like a...
No, because of the Welsh government... So I'm skipping around a bit here.
No,
we'll get to this in a minute. Because the Welsh government, I'm going to be racing against probably internationals, 23-year-old internationals.
Right.
And I've looked at their times.
Yeah.
And they are 2.5 seconds faster than me. That isn't a great deal.
No. It looks embarrassing.
Over 60 meters.
Doesn't it?
Over
that
60
doesn't sound a lot, but that's...
Over 60 meters is about 22 meters. So when they finished, when they crossed the line, I've still got 22 meters to go. It's like, it's the equivalent of being lapped, isn't it?
Yeah.
22 meters is going to be the longest of my life.
They're probably taking their trainers off by the time you cross the line, haven't they?
They'll probably be being tested at the other end and got the results.
Yeah.
So
okay, but that's not important.
no,
It's the time, not the
it's
other individuals you are
it's
racing.
just the time. And so when I ran last time, and
Is that what losers say? Is that like it's like taking part? Yeah.
So when I ran last time, there was one main reason why I didn't go, oh, I'm running in Cardiff. One was that my optimism that I would finish the race wasn't massive. And secondly, I thought it was something I posted today on Insta Story saying, I can't remember what it was very wise, something like, don't post telling people you're going to the gym.
That's right. Show
them,
some about action, wasn't it, in your words?
It was basically don't give your intentions. So actions are greater than words.
Yeah.
So tell someone you've been to the gym, you had a great session, rather than saying I'm going to go to the gym later.
Yeah. Okay, another excuse to put a picture of you with your big shoulders up on the internet. Come on, we all know what your game is.
Yeah, it's very much back at the moment, isn't it? There's a theme on my posts.
Yeah.
The one going up today is going to be my back.
I mean, people don't know this, but you do this facing the other way. This podcast, I just stare at your back, and it's totally normal
I wish
for
you
me.
put the heating on. It's cold today. Hats off on. So, where were we? Yeah. So it's about getting a time. And
Can I just put a pin in that for a minute? I hate that saying. Also, wasn't there something about who could come and watch on Saturday? Because you started to talk
to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon. Because
well, on the
how
first
fancy
one,
coming along.
On the first one, they said we will allow a certain number of spectators in, but basically they should. You're going to have to ask for us to allow you in, and it's really going to be for the youngsters. So if you've got children like under 18 runners,
right,
we can understand that your mum and dad might need to bring you, which is a fair point.
Okay, all right.
So you can apply to watch your children run, but what we don't want is loads of spectators encouraging other people.
Right. Can I be passed off as your son or something? Can it be the other way around? The athletes are so old they have to bring their middle-aged kids.
My carer.
yeah. That they can't stop you doing that.
No.
Can they?
No. You could be my emotional support podder.
Do I have to have like a little high-vis kind of tab on or something with?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I have to be attached to you. Is that right?
I'm going to take a Shetland pony.
No, I want to come.
Did you hear about the Shetland pony on the plane?
No. Was it an emotional support?
Yeah, emotional support pony. It was on a plane.
Oh,
and
amazing.
This company, airline, had a rule basically that you could bring
your
on internal, and people bring kittens and
Shetland
small puppies, and they've got a pony.
Lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, don't take a Shetland pony. Take me.
Okay. I could take you dressed up as a pantomime pony. Ride you into the
emotional support pantomime horse.
Yeah, and I'm riding him.
Yeehaw.
I should have a BPD membership card, isn't it? It's like
to be fair, you've
visible.
You all those blue badges. It's like a deck of cards, isn't it? Which one today?
I'm parking on the track. I heard a podcast the other day. Can you remember this? You might not remember, but back in the day, you used to be able to drive your disability car onto the football pitch for matches.
Right. Okay.
Like on the side of the pitch. So down at Rovers there was a row of light blue three-wheeler disability cars. And people could just sit there and watch the match. But it was like a car park. And it's
like a drive-in. Like a
drive-through movie. So, where were we? So, I ran whatever it was. And so this is the takeaway. So one of the things I do, and I think this is really, really helpful, or I hope it's really helpful, is that before I compete, and you can use this for anything, you could use this before you go on stage or before you do some weightlifting or whatever it happens to be. So I set myself 5 goals, and I do it when I'm emotionally regulated. That's the tricky bit. Finding that time.
You just hope this is going to be just before your race, right?
No, not just before your race.
Right, there's 5 things you do where you need to be emotionally regulated. We'll come back to what that before you do what an exercise.
So the activity. Well, let's use the race.
Or you just came up with some. I was listening.
Yeah.
So it could be anything.
It could be anything. But it's more than just doing.
But something
squat.
That's going to take, take something, some effort, or something's going to might kind of make you nervous or anxious or something like that? Is that what you're saying?
No, I haven't been clear.
I haven't let you finish, to be fair.
There's a theme. We're 94 in. I'd interrupt me. I was going to post something today that said, if I hadn't me as a friend, I wouldn't have me as a friend. I get so fucked off with myself. Seriously. I must be so hard to be around. Really, I wouldn't choose me. So, no, I'm not doing that in sympathy. It's just I'm irritating.
I'm not. I don't care.
Where was I now? Oh, so yeah, the 5 things aren't to enable me to do the event or the action. They're how I judge success. So when I came in just now, you said I've had a good day, and obviously instead of doing what most people that
you went.
Now
That's a good question.
And then gave you an answer that you were bored with fairly soon.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that what I say is, how do you judge? And this is so appropriate to what we're going to speak about. This is why I'm going on ad nauseum.
Good, because I have no idea what we're going to... I can't wait. This
well,
is great.
You know the enough is enough. We're going to talk about enough is enough.
That's next episode, but we can put it in this way. It's fine.
Yeah.
Glad you read my message. Fucking hell.
And I didn't bring my computer.
Yeah.
Anyway. So
the 5 things is about judging success.
Yes.
Right, we're going to keep this thread if it kills us.
Yeah. So one of the things that I feel is lacking a lot today in people's satisfaction is not knowing what good looks like or what good feels like.
Yes.
So if I go to Cardiff like I did 3 or 4 weeks ago and I race, and my time was 8.69. There is a whole number of markers I can utilise to decide whether that time was good or not.
Yeah. And
those markers will differ depending on how emotionally regulated I am, or how I feel about myself, or how I feel about the race. So 8.69 is the slowest 60 metres I've ever run.
Yeah.
So you could go.
But yeah, you could come away. Yeah, you could come away just kicking. I think you've talked privately about this. I think you could have come away absolutely destroying yourself, which I think you probably have on occasion, haven't you?
Yes.
By focusing maybe on the wrong thing.
Yes.
Right.
So 8.69, slowest I've ever run.
Sounds quick to me, but
however, could also say, it's only 0.02 of a second slower than last year, and I'm a year older.
Yeah. And
I haven't been training very well, and I've had some injuries, so
and
maybe
an operation,
and had most of the veins taken out of my legs. So you could go, well, it isn't that.
Yeah,
that isn't bad. Then you could look at it from another angle. So I've looked at the UK rankings, and I'm number 8 in the UK.
Congratulations.
Thank you. However, I obviously don't find that, because not many people have run this year, because all the oldies have been staying in because of COVID. So although I'm 8, it's a smaller group than normal. So that, of course, makes me go, well, it doesn't count. Although I'm 8th fastest, if all those other people that have stayed in had run, I'd be right further down.
Like 9 onwards. You all stayed in.
Sorry?
9th onwards, all stayed in.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's mean.
He was in a light blue car. And so, pantomime horse. Yeah. So the point I'm making is you can look at 8.69 in a whole number of different ways. If you look upon it in an emotionally regulated way, and the way I describe this is I'm sitting down at a table with a cup of coffee, the sun's shining, I just feel quite good. So what I do is get a piece of paper out and say, write down 5 things that would be measures of success, so that when you've finished the race, you read these first, and you say to yourself, these were measures of success before the race.
Yeah.
You can't therefore go back and go, oh, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Because they were written.
You could rewrite your own history to make yourself feel better or worse.
Yeah,
right?
And you can continually be self-destructive by going, oh, if only I'd done... But if you look at that piece of paper and say, well, no, 3, 4, 5 days ago or a week ago, you said if you did this. So my 5 measures of success helped me in the day. So number 1 was getting to Cardiff, because the last time I went, I went to the wrong sports stadium. So I was really...
You were in the right country, right?
Yeah.
Just the wrong place. Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So I was late getting there. So that was number one.
Mm-hmm.
I did take the wrong turning again.
But to be fair, that's a low bar. I mean, isn't it?
Getting
up to the right
25
venue.
miles in a Mercedes-Benz with sat-nav.
All right, you always have to drop in. You got a Mercedes-Benz.
I'm just making the point that, that was dropped in.
All right, we know you've done well for yourself.
You've seen the state of it.
Yeah.
This table's worth more than my car. So that was number one, getting there. Number two was completing the warm-up, because I have had times before, once in a UK Championship, where I pulled a hamstring in the warm-up. So
because you didn't do it.
I'm not sure. Well, it doesn't really matter what. It was something that was avoidable.
Okay.
There was someone with me. I'd done 2 starts, and they went, "God, I love the way you do X, Y, and Z. Can you show me again?" And I did. I went, "Oh, someone's watching me."
Yeah, messed with you.
Yeah, and I pushed too hard and pulled my hamstring. So I had 5 measures of success, and the 5th measure of success, which is if you like, the more race oriented rather than getting there.
You've gone from 2 to 5.
Okay, so
I'm all in. What are the
number 3 was to complete the race uninjured.
Yeah.
Number 4, I can't remember what number 4 was, and number 5 was to run at under 9 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my heart of hearts, if I'd run 8.99, I would have been fucked off.
Yeah.
But in my emotionally regulated thing, I'm thinking, you're worried about getting there. You're worried about pulling it.
4 or 5 things,
yeah.
right?
So if you get 4 and you're just slightly over 9 seconds, it's still been a good.
So would you write 5 and go, it's got to be 3? Or it's got to be at least 3?
The 5 have to be achievable. If you get all 5, it's a bonus. But if you get 3 and go, well, look, I've come away uninjured. I've finished the race. It's the first race in 2 years. At the end of the day, that's a good result. So as long as you get any of them in effect, there's something positive to take away. So planning for this race on Sunday, today I wasn't emotionally regulated today, but hopefully tomorrow I will be, and so I will write down my 5 things.
So you're saying you need to be emotionally regulated to write them, which makes sense.
Yes.
Because when you've either finished a race, you might be emotionally unregulated. That's the whole point of writing it down.
You will be emotionally regulated after the race, which is why you can't be objective about your achievement.
What is emotionally regulated then? Have I got the wrong meaning of that?
So I would have been, if I've run the race and then I decide whether 8.69 is good or bad, I'm going to be pumped full of adrenaline.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah, going to be
pumped full of caffeine and all the other illegal stuff I take, which messes with your mind.
Yeah, extra blood.
I'll be there going, if I won and I did 8.69, I'm going to be sort of swayed by that. Well, the time wasn't brilliant.
Yeah, we did a lap of honour for it
as
well, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So that's why you need to be emotionally regulated, whereas I do. So at the moment, I haven't been regulated this week, so I haven't written them down. But when I do, they will be on similar themes. But because I now feel that I'm fitter and I feel that I'm less likely to get injured,
the bar will be raised a bit.
In terms of times, will then be, okay.
The first one still be or will it be?
Yeah.
Would that be a given?
I think that might be a given because it was only 3 weeks ago. And so the time might be now I'd go, so this is what I've done. I've looked at my age group in 2018 before COVID hit.
Right.
And then if I want to get top 6 in the UK, what would have I had to do for my age group there? And I think it's like 8.5. So now my target 4 would be to beat 8.69 because I've improved in 3 weeks. I've been training well.
Yeah.
8.5 would then be the optimum target because then that puts me in the chance of having my highest ever ranking, and then that says to me, you're improving.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit long and drawn out, but I think that is achievable for people to do a whole other thing. So you could do it about, if you're planning to go abroad, you can have your 5 objectives, which is, making sure that you have the tickets on the kitchen table the night before and somebody else checks them, making sure that you've checked the petrol, so it's just those measures of success that will get you to the airport, making sure you've read about which COVID tests need to be done and when, and check them with somebody else. So I think those 5 emotionally regulated objectives are useful. So final bit, this is where I got a bit mouthy. They've now sent over what's going to happen on Sunday. So the first thing is, because of the Welsh rules on COVID,
Yeah.
the Welsh Government are only allowing 30 athletes in the whole of the stadium at any one time.
Right.
So I could go into a pub if it had a 60-metre track, and you can have
As many
300 people.
You just squash them all in.
Squash them all in. But there isn't a pub with a 60-metre track, so we're going to have to go to an athletics stadium.
There's a business idea.
So bearing in mind, most of the people are going to be fit and most of the people are going to be young, and it's a massive stadium. 30 athletes is fairly restrictive, bearing in mind...
When's that common sense ever come into play,
Yeah,
Mark?
and why 30? And what's that based on? So in order to comply, because it's the university, they've sent over a sort of, this is how it's going to work. So for my race, it said, turn up at 12:20, make your way to the outside part of the arena where there's a running track.
Right.
Do your warm-up there for an hour and a half.
What, outside?
Outside. Bearing in mind,
for an indoor race?
Yeah. Bearing in mind also, like tomorrow night's -4 here. It isn't Florida.
No, exactly.
So these athletes are going to be, and these athletes
and you.
And me, but like proper ones that are going to have proper muscles and stuff, are going to be, inverted commas, warming up in about 2 or 3 degrees outside for an hour and a half. You will then be called, and it says you can have 10 minutes inside, which I think is basically to have one of those silver blankets and a mug of hot chocolate.
Yeah. You'll get Horlicks, but anyway.
You're
thinking about Horlicks, aren't you?
Yeah, I just thought it was a joke.
It was a joke. Although you thought there was another joke.
I was going to say
that was funny enough, right?
Horlicks, but she charges extra.
Yes, right. Yeah,
right, so
this is a family show.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, my mum's listening.
Yeah, I know. So where was I? Yeah, so I'm going to come in, and this is where you could come as my carer, because you could have like one of those blankets. I am coming as your carer. Yeah. You could have a small mobility scooter and a blanket for me.
It sounds like you're going to need to be looked after.
So I'm going to be basically running around outside to get warm in 3 degrees.
Yeah.
Not with the 3 degrees. That would be stupid.
They booked
They're not in my bubble.
It's warming up, but they're the warm-up act, right?
Tribute act. As you run around the track, 3 women in sequiny.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyway, so I've got an hour and a half slot to run around outside, 10 minutes to come back in. The race is run, and then I've been given from the time the race starts, I have 5 minutes to leave the stadium. So I'm going to literally...
You're going to be in the place 15 minutes.
I'm not going to have very much time to get my breath.
You've basically got 15 minutes in the stadium, right?
I'm going to have to then run back and get my kit, get dressed, because you don't want to be walking out in shorts after you've just run a race into the freezing cold.
Yeah, right.
And then the 5-minute countdown, and then another group of people will come in. And this is happening the whole day.
Oh, my God.
So that there's never more than 30 of us. So there'll be 8 of us with the hot chocolate, 8 of us racing, and then 8 of us just about to leave.
What a joke. Isn't it? And full football stadiums.
Yeah.
And another outside.
Not in Wales, though. But there will be.
Sorry.
There will be for the
COVID
for the
capital.
6 Nations.
Yeah, well, they've just stopped it just for that, haven't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there'll be 70,000 people in Cardiff.
Yeah, elite sports, but also this should be classed as elite sport as well, because there are elite athletes.
I don't think elite sport counts for the spectators.
But I thought, but football carried on when everything was cancelled because there was elite. Remember when we used to play tennis back in the day?
Yeah.
No one got cancelled, didn't it? We couldn't even go and play tennis and be 30 foot from each other outside.
Yes.
Yeah, elite sport. Everyone could just, Premier League could happen because it was the top tier, wasn't it? The football league.
Yeah, and then they allowed
the part-time plumbers
into the FA Cup.
Yeah, that's right.
Thinking about it, actually, now, surely the net in tennis would have kept COVID at bay.
Annette? Who's Annette? Is she one of the nurses?
The COVID marshals, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't see how it could get through that.
Yeah.
About as effective as a cloth mask.
Yeah.
I've done well not to mention COVID. So anyway, that's my Sunday. So you can imagine.
That sounds lovely. Yeah, I'd love to come, but...
Well, there's going to be 3 hours preparation time. I'm going to be there for 3 hours, and there'll be 3 hours having a breakdown on the motorway services and crying.
Oh. Oh, no, don't. My heart just went...
You've been to motorway services?
But on the interweb, when you see these kind of things where people go, we're just about to go out and do something like that. So clearly the person doesn't need a carer and they take a carer, or an emotional support, pantomime horse. I haven't got the guts to go and do that and film it.
Be the carer?
Yeah, to go and...
Just demand it.
Yeah, I mean, not even to kind of film it as a kind of as a funny thing or a piss take.
Right.
So I'm not even... I don't know, maybe I'm too sensible. I mean, it sounds funny. It sounds funny.
What, you coming along doing that?
Yeah, but we're not kind of... I'd do it because I want to come watch your race, but to kind of go through the official kind of routes of going, yes, I'm... I don't think I could do it, but there's loads of people out there who'll just lie and scam and just kind of take the piss just to get... And I don't think I've got the nuts to do that. I think I'm just too safe about those things. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think
because also, who is going to argue?
Yeah,
no one is going to, or am I the person they argue with? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get your point.
Because there's nothing to, there's plenty of people walking around with exemption passes on, and they're probably not. I mean, fair play to them. I don't really give two monkeys anyway, but. There's all people trying to bend the rules and find different ways of doing things.
Yeah, it was.
But I'm not sure I could do it.
I was in Sainsbury's the other day, and the guy served me on the till had a lanyard that said, "I'm not wearing a mask because I'm exempt. I have a hidden disability." And I felt like saying, "Why do Sainsbury's make you broadcast?"
Well, I don't think they do make you. People choose to.
No, it's a Sainsbury's.
What, an employee?
Well, they're an employee behind
right.
the till. So obviously people are going to go, you should have a mask.
It's probably just stop them getting abused.
It is totally that.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's kind of where we've come.
But you sort of think...
people get so mad about it.
Yeah, but if you're working for a big supermarket, they would probably either tell you to put it on or... And it was obvious it wasn't such a hidden disability.
Right.
But I just thought, I felt uncomfortable that he had to justify...
Yeah.
And then tell me, by the way, I've got hidden... And my first thought is like...
kind of,
Where do we go on that? Do I, if you've got...
I'm sure I covered it on the pod one of the first times I went into Tesco's and, loads of the staff weren't... I'm sure I did it on the pod and I counted 20-odd people who didn't. And I got to the till and said, can you just explain why, I think I kind of said it very politely, why a lot of your staff aren't wearing it. And he, the first thing he came out with was, I'm exempt. Because he thought I was going to start on him, and but that's how we all are. We're all wound up, and we're all ready for a fight, ready for confrontation, aren't we? And that lanyard is that I don't want confront. I don't even want anyone to think it, let alone say it. Yeah. Because I don't think you necessarily wear a lanyard because of all the people that stop you every 5 minutes and you can't go about your business. I think it's a very small amount of people that would actually go,
But do you feel?
I would think
that you're put in that position because I'm thinking his hidden disability may have been a mental health disability. And then I'm thinking, it just feels a little bit like, here's a badge to go, I'm a little bit different from you. And when we think about the word disability, you haven't got ability. You're without or you've got altered ability. It's judgment. It's forcing people to be not forcing people. People would be judgmental reading that lanyard and going, I wonder what's wrong with him. He looks right. And that's the whole thing about a hidden disability. But I just didn't think it needed to be broadcast.
No, it didn't.
Anyway, so that's my race on Sunday. The other thing is they haven't yet released the testing things. So I still might not be allowed to go.
Oh, don't know.
Yeah.
Really?
They haven't. They're releasing at the last moment what you have to do.
You're talking about vaccination status, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So what I'm thinking is taking a small team.
So maybe...
Pantomime pony. Doctor, psychiatrist, and a letter from each of my 5 past therapists. It'll say, just let him in, seriously.
I'm not sure, from what you said, I'm not sure they're going to give you a reference. You know what I mean? I'm not sure they want to speak to you ever again.
No.
But also, don't take Djokovic's lawyers, whatever you do.
No.
I don't think... God. Oh, good grief. We're all work in progress, and this podcast is that's a record, that is. We're about 35, almost 35 minutes in. That's good. And I haven't even finished the end. This is going to be a long one. We could be up to the 3 hours, couldn't we? And this podcast is no exception. In short, it's a poke at our perfectly imperfect lives. And if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness.
Did you do the same?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
You can follow us on Instagram at imfinecast and search for all our episodes at our lovely website, imfinecast.com. So I put coming up, but I think we've kind of finished, haven't we?
Thank you.
I think we were going to talk about you had some content.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to talk about that, but I think the kind of name of this pod's probably going to be the 5. What is it? The 5 print. Well, you came with
five measures of success.
The 5 messages. God, if that's not clickbait, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Right? Watch all the listens come in with that.
But it is, I guess.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
We talk about it at work. You know, the biggest question, you know, when you talk about our own business is what does success look like? When you're talking to our clients, the biggest thing of all is what does, you know, what do you want to do? Where do you want to take this? What do you want to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be, you know, it can be 5 things. It can be one statement. It can be, you know, I want to keep this business going or this brand going for the next 10 years and keep all my, you know, employees happy and give everyone a pay rise every, you know, it can be as kind of detailed or as simple as you want, but it's huge because you can work out the detail afterwards. And also what I like about that, the 5 is that kind of think about the overwhelm and all the things we have to think about on a well, not have to be, or we think we have to think about, because we kind of often think that if we don't get all the things in our head done, that the world's going to stop turning.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of just kind of going, of all the things I do today, rather than you know, being overwhelmed with all this and doing not 1 or 2 things that probably weren't on my priority list anyway, just get, you know, even 2 of these 5 done that I really want doing. But tomorrow I'll feel a little bit better. At least I won't have that on my list. I mean, it's slightly different with your example because it's not about
exactly. That's exactly the words I was
going to say. I realise it's kind of slightly different. But even so, just getting something done, like life admin or doing that job you really don't want to do, the old kiss, you know, kissing,
opening the envelope.
I'll say kissing frogs. It's not. It's dealing with the ugly frogs, isn't it? On the lily pads.
Yeah.
Kissing frogs. Another. And I've got lots of frog analogies that I like to use in business. Roll them out in meetings.
Do you?
Yeah.
No, the point I was just echoing that you've said there is that it isn't a to-do list.
No, it's not.
So when you said to me when I walked in the kitchen, and I know I'm contrary, I'm really, and I'm not being self-deprecating at the moment, but I am just such hard work. When you said, have I had a good day?
You notice how I put the coffee machine on when I asked that?
So you didn't have to listen.
Yeah, he's like, what? Is that what? Well, no, I can. Right.
Isn't it a little bit about why this pod's called I'm Fine, though? Because that was the whole premise of this, is that we had that conversation. So what's happening, I guess, is because, and I know I overthink stuff, but I think when you say it was a good day, I sort of wanted to give you an answer that had some...
No, I think you said there were some really good bits.
Yeah, but I didn't know myself when you asked that question, which is why it took quite a long time to answer, because I'm thinking...
What the good bits were?
No, not even what the good bits were, but on the balance, if I'd had my 5 things, one of the things I would have had would have been...
Again, this is about how you know, back to your thing and not being a to-do list. I kind of took it slightly out of what you kind of were creating, I guess, and what you meant by that. But this is about setting a bar, isn't it? It's about your self-judgment. Maybe it's about that, right?
But a measure...
And how you... And you've talked about it quite a few times on the pods and did it in slightly different ways. But about looking back on things and how you look back on them.
Yes.
That's... whether it's today or the next one, is we're going to talk about, you know, is 1979, or is the past?
Yes.
Or those certain moments in our past better than today, actually? Or is it just... Well, are we reframing things?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, or are we kind of, you know, making it slightly better for our own kind of, I don't know, weird kind of justification? That's, you know what I mean? You're kind of how by if you'd set just one thing that you were going to judge a good day on today, and you did it, and you came in, and I went, "How's your day?" You would have gone, "Really good."
Yeah.
That's what you mean, isn't it?
I think it's that. If I'd had
because it reframes your
but it's
how good you're, or even how you are.
It's how I'm feeling when you ask the question.
Yeah.
So because when I came over, I've just been quite what's the word? Obstreperous today.
Only what?
Obstreperous.
That's another one.
Well, truculent then. If you don't want any big words. I just used truculent in my novel yesterday, so that was
Lovely.
But obstreperous I haven't used. So I was feeling obstreperous. So my communication with people was obstreperous today.
I still don't know what it means, Mark. You could say it all day long. I don't know.
Look it up.
I can't even spell it.
Nor can I.
I couldn't even spell it.
I don't know if it's OB?
Obstreperous. I found it. Noisy and difficult to... yeah, sounds about right.
Okay. Noisy and difficult.
Yeah.
What is it?
The example is, this boy is cocky on us. It's got a B. Oh, yeah. Ob. Yeah, this boy is cocky and obstreperous. Thank you.
I was doing that in my communication. So I was being sharp. I wasn't giving full answers. I was being, cocky and just like, I'm in a bad place, so everyone else has got to suffer. However, when you asked if I had the 5 measures of, if I'd got up this morning and the 5 measures of success had been, for example, today, a measure of success would be going to the gym, because I'm being very consistent with the gym, and doing a back exercise for 50 to 60 minutes. If that was my measure of success. It isn't a to-do list that goes, number one,
again, I was
to
kind
the
of
gym.
Thinking of a slightly different thing, but...
Right.
So, yeah.
So I mean, you give your example, but just finishing that.
No, I started to talk about what does success look like. So it is outcome-based.
Yes, it is
outcome-based. I started talking about a to-do list, but bring it back to
this. But on other days,
important.
it would be go to the gym, train for 50 to 60 minutes, and do a personal best. So your measure of success will vary depending on your intention when you get to the gym, or who you're training with, or where you are physically or emotionally.
And also the idea of when you write that list of being in the right frame of mind there. I find that really interesting as well.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty, because the
the
list will depend on where your head's at.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever done a list in the wrong frame of mind?
I just wouldn't.
Does that ever work?
It would just be self-destructive.
You think?
Yeah.
Because you're just going to go, right, this will fuck me up, right? I could purposely do something just to, you can't do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could.
You're like, just to put something outrageous on there.
Well, the success would be if I'm
knowing that your future self is going to really kick your ass. Do you know what I mean?
But if my outcome for the day, if my goal of the day is self-destruction and self-harm, because I'm not regulated, my 5 things might be try and drive 200 meters with your eyes shut, or do X, Y, and Z. So it could twist. If you're not regulated, your mind is going to be going, why don't you do this then? Because you're in this position. So I think that's why I mentioned that at the beginning. You have to be, or I have to be, calm, objective, and not swayed. Otherwise, you could actually get into the point of, if you aren't regulated, of going, here's an example. You could go, right, I've had enough of this person. I gave you an example of a person today who didn't reply quickly enough to me.
Yeah.
And because he hadn't, my thing was going to be, I'm going to put an Insta story going, I got BPD.
You're going to shame him.
Somebody else has got BPD and he hasn't been nice to me, fuck him. But that's because I wasn't regulated.
And then he texted you 30 seconds later afterwards, didn't he?
He texted me and he sent me about 3 or 4 or 5, 6 DMs, and then he followed me. And I think we could end up having quite a support. Basically, he's basically a bodybuilder more than a weightlifter, I think.
Oh, right.
In Bristol, white male with children and older.
What's that got to do with anything? You're just painting a picture.
No. The point I'm making is that one of the things around the course, if you remember, it was women in their 20s.
Yeah.
So for me to have somebody of a similar status and position, and
yes,
gives me, and I think he was mentioning things about how weightlifting and bodybuilding can be a form of therapy for him.
Right.
And I'm thinking that's quite a nice sounding board. That's someone who I can maybe relate to more as a local lad doing the same things as me.
Right, okay, mate. So
and then he was coming out with some very, very... And I've started watching his stories, and it's the same as me. It's just a complete outpouring of consciousness.
Right.
So I'll be very careful how I interact with him, because it could become self-defeating.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a measure of success. But if I was in an unregulated position, not in a wise mind,
Yeah.
I might have been, one of the things I'm going to do is tell him to fuck off or block him.
Right.
So that's why I think I need to be regulated. But I think generally, the populace doing it, if you are in that nice, calm way, it's going to be, they're going to be realistic, aren't they? And positive rather than...
You see a lot of the entrepreneurs and kind of, you know, arguably successful people, I guess, or self-proclaimed successful people talking about, I guess, this journaling. I mean, it's not a big it's not a thing I'm into and I know much about. I understand the premise of it, but a lot of the, I think I've got, the name escapes me, but 18 minutes. It's called 18 minutes. I think I've put it on the pod before, and a lot of it is just, you know, understanding what your long-term goals are and making sure your short-term actions align with that. It's classic. I mean, the minimalists talk about that. But it's also what part of aligning your short-term goals is to write them down in the morning. It's a similar thing. They have slightly different frameworks and that kind of thing, but even if it's just the one thing you need to achieve today, or the one thing that would make today worthwhile or a success, or you know, make sure these things are aligned, you know, strategically aligned with that long-term goal. I mean, it sounds fairly obvious, but it's amazing how quickly we get out of those habits and then wonder where we're free-falling and got too much in our head and don't feel like we're getting anything done. Yeah,
definitely. I'm sorry, I did read your note.
Itinerary.
Yeah. So I'm not going to jump into that enough is enough thing.
I think
I'm going to link to it.
Yes, I think we did say
maybe
that.
Lead it in.
Yeah.
So there was two things that happened today, and I think, again, this is takeaways, that when you're writing your measures of success and going back to the point of being regulated, I think it then focuses your mind on what actually success looks like and if it is achievable. Because if success isn't achievable because of the way you view an activity, then you're constantly chasing something that you can never, that's just ethereal. You can never grasp it.
That's just a massive thing in itself. Like, that's why you mentioned it, because it does touch on the enough is enough, which I think will have to be the next episode. But it is, because we've talked about it this week at length, haven't we?
Yeah, and I think there's a load. I reckon that's probably going to be a 2 or 3 parter. Yeah. But if I can just lead into it and not go into it and spoil it, but this is 2 things that have happened today.
No, but I think it's really good in when you the definition of success, because that means lots of different things to lots of different people. Yeah. And, you know, success for me isn't making more money or growing something or being famous or, to me, they're not necessarily that. No. You know, they can be, again, context and stuff, but success can be just finding a bit of peace, couldn't it? Yeah. Or we've talked about with Joe on this podcast before, finding your center. Yeah. Yeah. You know, or just finding a moment or finding 10 minutes, back to the media thing post from last pod about that's a really good one, isn't it? Yeah. Having 10 minutes of just being.
And I still haven't done that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'd imagine 5 measures of success is a nice number, but 1 isn't a bad one, is it? No. If you just go, actually, if I just get this time to do this today, or I carve time to do this today. Yeah. Yeah,
and then these going back to your goals. These aren't massive, like life changing. It's just like,
and you don't have to Instagram them either. No. You know that you don't have to tell any. You know, it doesn't matter. No one else matters. Yeah. Really.
So you can say to yourself, I guess it's that sort of.
That might be second one. I'm going to find 10 minutes, or I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And second, I'm not going to tell anyone about it. Yeah. It's just going to be my little thing.
Yeah. No, that would be good. But the 2 things I was going to mention. One was. Client who I mentioned earlier, a client I really love, I have a great respect for, a great time, and one of the things we differ on is her using her weight as a measure of success, in effect. Yeah. So if she was writing these, I'm guessing, and she was writing 5 in the morning, 1 would be, when I get to training, I weigh X. Yeah. And I'm taking no interest in her weight. I don't even look now when she's on the scales, but I'm aware from her demeanour whether she's feeling good or not about it. Yeah. But using the enough is enough there isn't an ideal weight for anyone. There's a range. Like I'm overweight according to the BMI. Yeah. I don't feel I'm overweight. I did a body composition yesterday. I'd like to have a little bit less fat, but you could say I'm pretty well within the range. So if this client, or if any client, loses weight, when does that become the optimum?
Yeah, right.
So you can have a target weight, but you would then change as an individual because your circumstances might change, that you want to build muscles. So that weight isn't then the optimum weight. So it's fluid where you might get to. Yeah. And this is what I think is so strong about Amelia's challenge. All the transformations she's putting up are going, here's somebody,
Amelia's challenge?
She's done this 12-week challenge as part of her, her job. Yeah.
I'm just being a listener.
All right. Yeah.
What are you on about?
So she does a 12-week challenge.
That's my job.
Yeah. And she encourages women to take photographs and to have their goals, and she supports them to get that. But a lot of the transformations are someone who's the weight isn't the the issue. It's the change in their composition shape, or their confidence, or achieving something that they want to achieve, regardless of weight.
Or getting into those trousers they couldn't.
Yeah.
Is as valid as anything.
Yeah, and it can be putting on weight. It can be. It doesn't. The weight is a better bit of red herring. So my point with this client today, who, as I say, adore her, and I want her to do well, and I want her to be strong, and all the things that she's sort of outlined, is if you say to her, "Did you have a good day?" It's dependent on those scales. Well, those scales are dependent on her period. Yeah. Where she is in a menstrual cycle, or what she had for tea the day before, or if she's got constipation, or if she's wearing slightly different shoes. How hydrated
she is.
And how hydrated. Yeah. So you're, as a measure of success, you're in the lap of the gods. So if it's positive, you go, oh, good, I've lost weight. It doesn't really have that bearing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at a photograph and go, this was me before, and I'm stronger, and I'm fitter, and I feel more confident, then that's beyond... Yeah.
That was me kind of taking the piss out of your first one about getting there.
Yeah.
Because it was just an easy target.
Yeah.
However, if you think about it, it's not put in there flippantly or kind of without any thought, or it's actually a really important thing, isn't it? Because of the knock-ons. So I guess my point is, it can sound fairly insignificant to some. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just reminded me of that. So the things that she was focusing on may or may not sound insignificant to others.
Yes. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
as long as that, is the right step to the next thing she has to do.
Yeah.
Oops, or that is in her own world. That is the important, for whatever reason. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's back to our judgment, how we judge.
And I'm not judging her as having weight as a measure of success.
No, I know, but
what
she might, as part of her over, she wants to pick something. We might go, well, that sounds very, or fairly small, innocuous, or it doesn't sound like that's going to, add to any kind of success.
I can understand. No,
but it's not our. I guess my point is, it's not our success. It's that per individual's success.
But this is where the enough
is important.
Enough comes.
It's important. And you're very confident and happy and comfortable with whatever that is. Does that make any sense? Kind of did before I started opening my mouth.
I think the point I was saying is not knocking somebody wanting to lose weight and having a target weight. That is fine.
Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't talking about that.
No. But what I think I'm trying to explain is that the enough is that you actually have to have a position. You can't continually lose weight or you disappear. So those targets might be towards some other goal, and then the goal might be, right, now I'm where I am. Yeah. This target, my measure of success now is going to be judged in a different way.
Yeah.
So that was the point, and I wasn't being, and you weren't being flippant, you were being flippant, but about me getting there. When I went to the wrong sports stadium, then I was full of self-hate.
Yeah,
then I was also stress.
And you're kicking, and everything else is a knock. Everything else is going to be impacted.
Yes. And then I was late for the warm-up.
And if anything like me, I'd have driven home in a right old fucking huff and not done anything. Not come out for a week. That's what I'd have done.
Yeah. But the other thing was, I was close to doing that.
When you miss a junction on the motorway, And you look at the fucking Google map, and it's going 16 miles to the next chunk.
And
you're like
16 is another 16.
Yeah, so it's right 32.
Yeah,
right. 32 miles of me kicking my ass.
Yeah, and you drive faster
you
to make it last less, don't you?
Yeah. Or go slower just to really punish myself.
Yeah.
You deserve this. But I'm not a nice person to be with when I do that.
No, I'm not. But the point I was saying about me getting lost, there was two things. One is, if I got lost a second time, then my self-doubt is, okay, so what's happening to you mentally that you got lost twice out of 3 times?
I think that's kind of my point is, for you, that fairly, arguably small thing for some is actually a big thing. And I was going to say, if your kind of client wanted to pick something else, they don't have to be big things, or they don't have to be kind of, earth-shatteringly big. They can just be small elements of a sequence of events or a chain of events.
Yeah.
To make sure, I'm sure you were talking about this at training the other week about knock-ons and shunting. I'm sure we were talking about that. Like, you do one thing here and it just knackers the rest of the.
Yeah, we were. We were talking about the sliding doors. Because I think
people coming to training and that was it. Maybe someone who maybe rearranges training or doesn't commit or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But you forget that the down their priority list, training is quite near the end. Mm-hmm. Therefore, everything at the beginning, if you think about it like a snake, it's really bad. Bad in that. This is how I think about it. And the tail is your, I will train because that's a priority down there. The rest of your life is kind of front loaded. Yeah. So that could be work, it could be kids, it could be not eating very well, not looking after yourself. Yeah. And by the time this thing's moving, and by the time you get to training is a thing that's just going to get thrown off off balance or thrown it. And you go, I can't even, text to you, I can't make training. Because there's other things, I guess that's my point, there's other things at play. Yeah. In isolation, you look, they just don't turn up, or they can't commit, but it's not that. Yeah. It's all the other things that build up to that.
Yeah, training isn't the most important thing in their life if they've got 6 kids who've, been sent
and also
home from
you
school.
can't go, well, training needs to be at the other end, because that might not work either. Training might, putting that at the beginning of the the top of the priority list might not be the right thing to do. Yeah. There might be other things they just need to get sorted. Yeah. Yeah. But they're not sorting that. So, but there could be quite small things, But then whether that's drinking right, eating right, simple things like that, or taking time, or getting rid of some stuff out of your life,
Yeah. But the exact opposite can happen to what you've just said, in terms that, and I've mentioned this person before, so she won't mind me mentioning, we discussed it, and I've shown you photographs. Zoe Moe, the person that's making fantastic, very muscular woman who's looking really strong and good. And she put up a post yesterday, and I DM'd her and I said, can you just stop training for a few weeks, because it's making me have to try even harder, to sort of stay ahead of her. She is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. However, using this as the counter to have I put on a pound or I've lost a pound, if her measure of success is a good session at the gym, it can be as broad as that. It doesn't have to be sort of smart and objective. It can just be, and good being that I'm there for 50 minutes or that I do 20 exercises. You have to have a little bit of a measurement. But then, and I've been thinking about this with my body, when am I going to be happy with how I look? So when is enough going to be enough? Yeah. She looks phenomenal at the moment.
It's about your outcome.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't thought about an outcome, I imagine chances are, if you sat down and thought about it, you've probably gone past it. If you're a fairly kind of motivated, productive person. And then the flip side of that, if you have an outcome or an ambition and you hit it, or you even get close to it, you start to kind of realise, what am I going to do after that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to take it.
Exactly how I want it. Yeah, that's it. Job done.
Yeah.
So can you ever get there?
Yeah, I think we know that. There's no real spoiler alert here, but I don't think you ever will. It's the bar that you keep. We've talked about bars before, haven't we? We might have to kind of revisit some of those, but the bar just gets reset again. So the low bar is someone else's high bar.
So, and this is being contentious. Are some of the things we do almost destined to failure, no matter how positive they are? Yeah. Because I'm thinking, we had this conversation on Tuesday. I want to run faster.
Yeah, you did talk about,
But But I'm getting older
Yeah.
and my legs are getting worse, and people as they get older don't run as fast, and I'm wanting to run how I did 5 years ago, and that's unrealistic. So really I should take a step back and go, okay, just try and run within 2% of your last run. And then I go, no, I still feel when I'm running that there must be some secret that I can
Well, I think
train better or faster or smarter. And
maybe this is the kind of nice way of rounding what you kind of said up about the 5 things. I can't remember what you called them.
measures of success.
So
That could be
just
one of
rolls
yours
off
for
the
tomorrow.
tongue. Remember
Fucking
it.
listen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
mine is to read the
Read the room.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh god, no.
No. This is where I forget my thread, isn't it? What were we just talking about?
Measures
That was
of
actually really funny,
success.
and I laughed so heartily I forgot.
I was saying about how that you can't ever really sort of reach perfection.
Because you were talking about the idea of kind of just having to slow down,
Yeah.
or kind of realise that I'm not going to do that anymore. And yeah, I think that's it. You kind of, there's no reason why you shouldn't slow things down or set a bar higher than you're likely to achieve. And I think that's the important bit about the outcome based stuff, getting it down, is that you can kind of just, again, if you're in the right state of mind, just think, I'm not getting any younger, and I am battling, I am up against it for all sorts of reasons. But I think it's obviously accepting that. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't still raise the bar a little bit. Yeah, we talk about it at work, which is kind of a recent thing we started to talk about, which was stretch, that point where you get to where you need, stress is important. We talked about that on the pod. And the stretch, but you need to, it's good to be in stretch for a short amount of time, depending on what you're doing, or actually a long period of time. And because if you don't have that, you almost don't have,
Then you stop.
don't have any, you do, And there's that just why get out of bed, why do anything. So I think it's important to kind of, to have stretch in your life.
This guy, Ben Patrick, who was talking to Joe Rogan, was saying he doesn't have any cheat meals. He doesn't have any entertainment. He doesn't watch Netflix. He doesn't watch terrestrial TV. And Joe Rogan said, it sounds like you're living like a monk. And he came up with something that I thought was really insightful. He said, if I have a pizza and watch a box set, I will get happiness from having a pizza and a box set. But he went, I don't want to be reliant on my happiness. So if I don't have a pizza and a box set, I spend my time finding happiness in my life.
Yeah.
And one of the things he was doing, he's got a 1-year-old child, and he said, I've been on 1,000 walks with that child strapped to my chest. And he said, that's my happiness. And I'm thinking, are we just this is the enough is enough. It's like, if you like pizza, then when's enough is enough. And if you're watching, I saw a great meme the other day. It said, would you like to watch this 10-hour film? And the person goes like, don't be ridiculous. And they said, well, would you like to do this in 1-hour chunks and end up watching the whole lot? And they went, that sounds good. And it is. It's
absolutely right.
Even if it's not 10 hours, there's plenty of people watching 4 1 hours of a box set in a row, but a 4-hour film would be too long.
And that's the other thing, a little bit like my crap weird snake analogy with training being down at the other end, is that, why go, that's the time I'm putting aside to look after myself, to treat myself well, to nourish me, to water me, all those kind of things. And I'm clearly not doing that at the head of the snake. That's a real terrible analogy. Mind you, people have written books on worse kind of ideas, haven't they?
Not a lot worse.
Okay, thanks. The snake. I can see it now, the snake.
Yeah. Pubs of Bristol.
Do you want to?
Just very quickly.
You haven't finished my snake. Are you really that bored?
I thought you.
No, I think that idea that you kind of, maybe that's the bit I look at. That's the bit that's the bit that's going to make me happy, or it's going to, I'm going to train and get stronger and not necessarily lose weight, because we know that's about food as well. But there's lots of smaller things you could do every day, where you could either find happiness or find that time for yourself to look after yourself. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you almost you don't leave it down the end there. It becomes back to the habits that we've talked about. You do it.
It becomes integrated in other stuff in the same way that looking at TikTok does.
Yeah, why?
You don't have that at the end and go, I'm going to do everything in my life. You still look at TikTok, not you. 10 times a day, a quick look or a quick checking a video or checking an email.
Yeah.
Whereas you're right. I think training, instead of becoming integrate, becomes if I get all my shit together.
Yeah. So whatever that thing is about, that thing that makes me happy. I mean, normally that kind of the stuff that does make you happy is the stuff you're doing for your soul. The thing that really kind of, lifts you, whatever that is. And even if it's trying to find just 10 minutes, like me leaving in the morning, I could get ready. Why don't I just stand in the garden for 10 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah.
And take deep breaths. Only 10 minutes.
Yeah. And
why do I feel I've got to get onto the road and beat the traffic? What am I doing? So they're all very small things, but I guess that's my point. There's lots of, maybe I should try that, and then I won't do it tomorrow because I'll be 10 minutes late to see you. But where is it?
We could go and stand on the common together. Huberman,
holding hands,
if you want, but as long as there's sunlight. Huberman has been saying about his podcast. I can't remember what the name of the podcast, but his name's Huberman. Was talking about the effect of sunlight within 90 minutes or an hour of you getting up, just standing out, and also basically at dusk doing the same thing. And this sort of recharge of your batteries of having natural light is really meant to be really helpful around sleep, especially because people are just sometimes not even seeing sunlight the whole day, and then going, I wonder why I can't, I've been under fluorescent light all day. I wonder why I can't sleep. Yeah. So that would be good.
Okay, yeah, Bristol, do you want to do that, a little bit of light relief at the end?
Yeah. So this came... So the novel that I'm writing, up to 17,000 words now, so I'm chuffed about that. I wrote about a pub, and on everything I'm writing about, I'm trying to do as much research as I can. And what I found out is in the 70s, no one recorded anything. It's like... Well, apart from
the Beatles had stopped at that point. I think Pink Floyd might have still been going. Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
In terms of...
Of course they did. I mean, you think, what now? I mean, the stuff you just... Yeah, very quickly on TikTok, you've seen all this stuff. I mean, there's almost... If it's not being filmed, it's slightly weird. Yeah. And I'm surprised we're not even filming this. Yeah. Just for the sake of it. Yeah, just in case something hilarious happens. Yeah.
But, I've been... Because another thing in the book... I know I'm diverting. But another thing that I wrote on last night in the book was the St Paul's riots in Bristol, which were the first sort of major riots
that you started.
In Britain.
Yeah.
I didn't start.
All right, you finished. Okay.
No. So I wanted to go back to remind myself. I was there, and I wanted to remind...
Knew it. Where were you on the night?
I wasn't Asian provocateur. No, I wasn't. So I wanted to go back to... We've had this thing before about your memory as your last retelling of a tale, and I've told a tale about how there was a motorbike shop, and I was standing there while everyone was smashing the glass and wheeling out lovely motorbikes. It was Fowler's.
Right, yeah.
They used to be in St Paul's.
Yeah.
And my first thought wasn't, you could go and get yourself a bike.
Yeah.
So that's good. But it was like... Firstly, they haven't got any helmets. I don't know why I thought that. And secondly, they haven't got the keys for them. So they're going to be useless, like as if none of them could have...
All I'm thinking is steering lock as well.
Yeah, no, they were all in... Yeah, well, some of them were having to be half carried out. Anyway, so my memory was of night.
You have changed, haven't you?
The local bank, they'd set the bank on fire to see if there was any money inside, and then Fowler's was just along the road.
Hold on, they set the bank on fire to see if there was any money inside. What? Why don't they use a torch? I mean, the idea that, yes, there is money. Oh, it's all been gone up in flames.
It's in that bag. Oh,
I can see it. It's lit up by that lovely massive flame. Yeah,
torches would have been better. Well, they didn't have phones.
Sorry, I'm just,
You obfuscating.
I can't wait for you to...
Obfuscating. That was another one.
I didn't obfuscate anything.
That was your favourite word, wasn't it? So...
I wouldn't do this if you read your bit of your novel out. I wouldn't just sit and take the piss.
I don't know if I'm going to.
What, because you're scared I might be a twat and just keep interrupting you?
It's a bit self-indulgent, isn't it? Listen to me. You have been for an hour and a half. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I went back and I thought, I'm going to look at every video I can find of the St Paul's riots, so that when I'm writing about it, because I hadn't realised until I watched these videos that it had actually started early afternoon.
Right.
I'd always seen it as a nighttime thing. I must have watched 16 minutes of videos, and that's every video I can find.
Yeah.
And some of them are repeated. So the
Right.
whole of one of the biggest riots and one that had massive repercussions for Bristol and for the UK.
Hold on. I mean, to be fair, we've talked about a few riots on this pod,
Mm.
and there's been one common denominator.
Me.
Yeah.
But this was a race riot, and I
Yeah,
I
but
don't
the
think
Millwall
I
ones
fulfilled-
at Bristol Rovers.
Yeah.
I think you even made it onto a news. Was it
Panorama,
Panorama? Sorry, Mark.
Um,
Yeah. Well, nowadays everyone's got body cams and they're filming themselves
Yeah.
putting petrol bombs through
Yeah.
people's windows, aren't they?
and the police were there. This is why it caught my imagination. On one of the videos, the police were there trying to protect themselves against some groups because there was a lot of friction at this time. And this was earlier in the afternoon. And 3 of the police at the front had yellow milk crates. They hadn't been given riot shields. They'd gone, oh, there's a bit of a riot going down in St Paul's. Can you go and sort them out, boys?
It's the difference between the police then and now, isn't it?
There's a slight difference, but they were
kind
bright
of
yellow, which somehow...
the ingenuity that was
Yeah.
back in the day.
I'll show
They
you
just
the
moan they're
picture.
not given the kit these
Yeah,
days.
and it would be a big saving in the public purse if everyone brought their own milk crate.
Yeah.
But the fact they were bright yellow and these guys are holding them, and I'm thinking, you've got a
Sure, they weren't
marauding
milkmen. I mean,
moonlight.
at a glance in a riot, I mean, you could mistake them.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, the point I was making was,
Sorry, you were making a point.
yeah. So in the book, I'm trying to look at every single aspect,
Mm.
research it properly, because I'm not a finisher, and I want this novel for someone who was at the riots to go, actually, he's pretty spot
Yeah.
on.
No, it's good, and I think I like the way you were doing that because it was obviously make it more factually correct, right?
Mhm.
But also I like the idea that it was kind of giving you new not new memories, but
yeah.
kind of new ideas.
Maybe more
about-
honest memories, perhaps.
Yeah, I kind of like that. But I
Yeah.
think it was kind of because, if you said it, it's based on real events.
Yes.
But there's like embellishments and things in there.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
the right? I don't know what the right
Yeah.
terminology
So
is.
every event
It's giving you new
is
ideas and
true.
it's helped your language and how to describe certain things. And
Yeah.
it's almost where your mind's gone with it as well, which I find really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sort of weaving characters in. So when we went to this pub, which we went to before we went to a gig, I did some research to find out, and I can't find a single photograph of this pub. One of the biggest pubs in Bristol, there's not one photograph of it inside. So the nearest I could get was a guide that had been written beforehand, and that's why we'd mentioned that and why I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So this guide was written to the Complete Guide to Bristol Pubs 1975, and this guy who wrote it, Fred Pearce, wrote a series of different guides, and the only reference to the pub that I'm saying, which was the King Dick, was
Because
that
I did have this to talk about.
Yeah.
The King. We did mention the King Dick.
Yeah.
In the podcast.
yes,
Because we mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast,
Yeah.
but I took that out of the podcast.
Okay.
So you just randomly said the King Dick.
Yeah.
So.
and you said if I take that out, you'll sound.
Yeah. So this
King
is a nice little bookmark.
So one of the things that I found is that Fred Pearce wrote, one of the things that would be very useful to do would be to have the fact that you could go to 7 counties in one night. So it would be a 7-county pub crawl. So he was explaining how you could start, and he said you can start off at the King Dick at 6 o'clock, because obviously licensing hours were different, and you can
Right.
go to 6 other counties. And I thought,
But by what means of
by
transport?
car.
That was 70s.
So he's actually advocating driving probably
I'm
about-
sure there's a designated driver even
Yeah,
back then,
I'm
wasn't there?
sure that I don't think that term had been. So I thought
Yeah.
that was the sort of irony about that this was seen as a good thing, that you can
Yeah.
actually get to 7 counties in 5 hours.
No, it was called the King. Was it the King?
I guess
Richard?
the King Richard. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So he was saying, I mean, I'll just give you a couple of headlines that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
He said there were 400 pubs in Bristol, and the people that wrote about his guide said it's about the same as the number of pubs in Bristol in 2018, which is really interesting. You think, oh, all the pubs have been closing down and everyone were being told.
Yeah.
But he said that there was
Okay.
one for every 1,000 of population, which is quite a lot when you think about it, isn't it? It's quite a lot of pubs.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So what he'd done is just then listed basically what you could expect in various pubs. And so he's got his headings. One of them is class distinctions. So he's given a pub called the Drawbridge, says it's working class. The middle class go to the Bunch of Grapes on the other side.
What is that? A different pub?
Yeah, it's at the Hippodrome. There used to be a pub either side, and so if you're
Wasn't there
working
the
class,
horn and trumpet?
horn and trumpet could have been, yeah.
Or the horny
This was
crumpet,
the
as I've heard it's
drawbridge
been
and
called.
the bunch of grapes.
Okay, right.
And then he's giving another one. This is run by a working class husband and wife. It's a cramped spit and sawdust bar. But if you walk up the hill to the portcullis, it's all deerstalkers, Polar necks and Oxford voices, aging Clifton trendies.
I think it still is, to be fair. From what I remember.
If you go to the Cambridge Arms on Cold Harbour Road, it's jacket and open neck shirt characters in flash cars. And if you go to the Criteria on National Road, a collection of elderly, infirm, pissed and otherwise derelict humanity.
Oh, that's a lovely bit of writing, isn't it?
And I'm thinking...
You can picture it, can't you?
I'm a teenager at this time, and he's actually writing that a pub in Bristol is full of a collection of elderly, infirm, pissed and otherwise derelict humanity. And I thought, there's a certain honesty to this.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the next one is about period decor. And he just mentions pubs that have period decor. So the Horse and Groom has copper kettles hanging from the beams, including an electric one. Which is, I didn't know. It's like...
What, electric copper? It wouldn't be electric copper kettle, would
Well,
it?
that's what he said. This is 1975. A price of a pint, 26 pence a pint. Doesn't mean anything. Yeah, to our Chinese listeners. They'll be going 26p in 1975. God.
Yeah. You go, what's that in real money? You go, 26p.
Yeah.
But no, with inflation, I wonder what that would be.
Yeah.
What year was this again? 1975.
So what's a pint now? A fiver?
20p. I think. Wow. I said that the other day. Everyone scoffed at me. They went like, "Oh, 6.50, £7 though." When's the last time you went out? I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm in my 40s. I don't go out.
Yeah, and I don't drink anymore. I've gone 2 years, Mark.
Oh.
Without a beverage. You're good with maths, aren't you?
Mm.
So £100 in 1975 is equivalent to purchasing power to about £893 today.
Well, it's 9 times more. So 26 times 9 is 180
Oh,
plus 54. £2.34.
£2.34.
So yeah, so beer's gone up a lot then.
Yeah. I get you. It does something to my tummy when you do your maths. Is that right, doctor?
Yeah.
When Mark does his maths, I go have a funny tummy.
So talking of funny tummy, we've gone to pub grub.
Right. Lovely.
The Bank Tavern offered chicken pie, 2 veg and chips for 50p. So for the price of 2 pints, you couldn't get a meal. I don't think I would have eaten from the Bridge Inn. It had German sausages dangling from the ceiling. And you can get sausage and mash for 20p.
Well, which bit does he object to? The fact they're sausages or they're German? You know what I mean?
Oh, no, he discriminates against everyone. He said
Right.
there were jellied eels and cockles at Air Balloon in 2 Mile Hill. Is this some sort of Cockney ghetto? It's like,
It's brilliant.
we just get all the stereotypes. So the last cover, which I'm going to do, is gay pubs. The Elephant, which I think still is a gay pub in Bristol, was one of the premier folk music pubs in Bristol, but he's now gone and removed the landlord has now gone and been removed under a cloud, who decided they wanted another gay pub in the centre. The customers are now solidly gay, as are most of the bar staff, and trade is booming. Looks like the owners were right.
Not that kind of half gay. Or,
yeah.
I'm gay today, but not tomorrow. Like full on, flat out gay. Right.
But there's also a bit of a judgment in there.
Yeah.
They're not even for turning, they're that gay. But it's lovely that you can list that under gay pubs almost as sort of like they've got another bloody gay pub now. They're taking over the place. I probably won't do the race relations one. I might do it next time. Okay. But one of the things I found was that the first black landlord in Bristol was 1976. Oh. And I found that quite interesting.
Yeah, in such a multicultural city.
Yeah, because we had the Windrush generation coming in the 60s. So that surprised me a little bit in terms of thinking, I wonder whether landlords were sort of almost like a job for life then. So if you gave up a pub, it would be your son or daughter.
Yeah,
well, not daughter, son.
No,
probably.
yeah, I think you're probably right.
But it is interesting, the language. This is Ashley Road, which is another area near St Paul's, and it says the main public bar is dominated by whites. Black customers tend to use the corridor. Huh. And it's like, that then put it into perspective. This is 3 years before the race riot, 5 years before.
Yeah, but unlike because some of the other language, that's kind of just a flat out kind of statement, isn't it? Yeah. No kind of flowery language, but it's actually quite, it leaves you quite cold, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, Yeah, that is shit, isn't it?
And there's another one here, that Gloucester House was a white pub with an immediately hostile atmosphere, but it's almost said as factual in the same way as you can get sausage and mash. But you can actually put in print that black customers stayed in the corridors. That is unnerving, you're right.
Yeah, it is.
The other interesting, there's two things just to finish up. One was the Crown and Cushion. The Bell on Pruitt Street was a young kids pub with lots of girls looking for a pickup.
Right.
The Crown and Cushion had lots of 15-year-old girls sitting in pairs looking at 17-year-old boys. And again, it's like, I can remember getting served in the King Dick in my school uniform.
Yeah.
And he's actively going, this is full of 15-year-old girls looking for sex. And it's times, well, I don't know.
Is this getting more and more kind of sinister and unnerving as you kind of carry on? Or is there kind of, you know what I mean? It kind of started fairly light-hearted.
But
also it's the side of the times, isn't it? In terms of they've said that matter of fact. It's like most people have read that in 1975. Oh, okay, I won't go there then, or I'll go there because I'm a 15-year-old, or I'm a 17-year-old lad.
The final two are the St Nicholas House in St Paul's, as we mentioned. St Paul's was a friendly middle-aged old ladies' pub, and the music of Barry White is mentioned 3 times in the guide as an indicator that the pubs in question were for trendy, amorous young people and therefore best avoided.
Best avoid?
Yeah. Well, it's just basically sort of a shag fest.
Unless you're into that kind of thing, right? I mean, it's obviously not the target
Barry
audience.
White is like, if it's on the jukebox, there's a lot of shagging going on. And then the final line of the book, as the person that did this said, brace yourself for this bit of period sexism. The Bull in 2 Mile Hill had the biggest busted barmaids in Bristol. So not only alliteration.
What a lovely way to finish.
Lovely way to end.
Thank you. That was good, Mark. I enjoyed that.
I think probably offended quite a few people there.
Well, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Anything for the ratings. Right, I have to wrap up. That's it for this episode. Well done for getting this far, and thanks for listening to us. Remember that you can follow us on the socials by searching for imfinecast, and feel free to drop us an email at imfinecast@gmail.com. In the next episode, I think we'll do...
Enough is enough.
Yeah.
Why does that remind me of a song?
Enough is enough is enough.
Is that because the song is called Enough is Enough?
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Another bookmark. But anything else, Mark, you wanted to add before you?
No.
I think that was very good. I enjoyed that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
You were a miserable soul when you came in, weren't you?
What
was your opening line?
What? To you when you walked in?
Yeah.
What? What before? How are you?
No, when you're sitting here, it's like.
I didn't. I wasn't feeling very well. I was feeling a bit. I wasn't miserable.
No, you just needed a little dose.
I didn't get any sympathy from you. Yeah, right. I said I was feeling a bit tired. I got a bit, and you were like, almost like, I've got to pick this up. I've got to carry it. It's that kind of, all right, I've got this. Then
more work for me.
Yeah. Right. So see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers all.